everyone, and welcome to another wonderful episode of Aging in Action. Today with us, we have an amazing individual. Her name is Charlene, and she's with Amintro, a new recent app. Welcome to the show, Charlene.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Give us a little bit of background. What is Amintro, and what inspired you?
So Amintro is a social networking platform that also provides friend matching services. So it's a combination of a few things, specifically for adults 50 plus, that is a safe environment for our members to join the platform, the online community, answer a few questions as they build their profile, and then Amintro actually creates friendship matches and provides our members with friend suggestions at a local level. So the objective is with Amintro, we're a social impact enterprise. Our objective is to reduce social isolation amongst older adults. And our focus and our solution is on platonic relationships, on friendships, on, maintaining or increasing a robust social life and activities, and really getting offline and getting away from the computer screen and meeting comrades and your peers locally, converting strangers in your own community into friends. And the reality is we don't typically talk to strangers too often. And it's a shame, in my opinion, because I think if you spend just a little bit of time talking to somebody, it's amazing that you'll discover how much you have in common. And so really Amintro, the vision for Amintro was to create a far-reaching playground, if you will, for older adults, another schoolyard where they can actually meet people and make new friends. And so part of the process involves our members indicating, how far of a reach they would like to be connected with people, anywhere from 10-kilometer radius to no more than 100-kilometer radius, because we want to facilitate our members actually meeting in person and getting out and enjoying life. The motivation was my family, my mom. It came out of concern and worry and observation. My mom was, widowed in her mid-50s. And, just an incredible human being, an amazing mom, really independent, very vibrant, like the best mom, the best wife, really very blessed to have an amazing family. And she had no desire to date. My dad was the be all and end all, which my brother and I loved. But that also meant that, her social life kind of dwindled over time for numbers of reasons. The circle of friends got smaller. People moved away. Some became caregivers to an ailing spouse, and then that limited their freedom to get out and do things, travel, grab a coffee. They worry about how long they spend at the grocery store and leaving their spouse at home. And so it was an observation that my mom was getting a little bit bored and not doing much. And so when I would ask her, why aren't you getting out? Why aren't you doing? What are you doing sitting around at home watching the news constantly and just regurgitating it to me when we talk? And she said, it's either, I don't know what there is to do, or I don't have anyone to go and do it with. And I thought, well, those are unacceptable excuses, so what can I do to solve the problem? And is this just an issue and a worry that I have and my brother has about my mom's well-being and her quality of life? And or is it a bigger issue? And of course, the research and, especially with what we went through in the last 3 years that put social isolation on the map. The reality is for many older adults, it was there well before the pandemic, and it will continue to be there if somebody doesn't do something about it. And so I set out to do something about it with Amintro.
I think if I recall correctly, I think Gwen and we were just recently at an event here in Greater Sudbury, and you had acknowledged at that time that you have launched in Northern Ontario. So I guess for viewers and listeners, that is something today that they can connect here in the North.
Yes, absolutely. So, building an online community, really, you do it community, like geographically by geographically, ideally, right? Because you need to have the members, the new friends available. And one of the strategies and ways of doing it is focusing on a particular region. And so we were in Sudbury not too long ago and announced the expansion into Northern Ontario and inclusion more of French content and material, which is a huge part of Canada in general. We're a multilingual country, and I'm excited because I was born in Sudbury. I in the 70s, and moved when I was I started second grade in South Florida, but I have a lot of fond memories, and I still have family there, and or in Manitoulin, so I get up each year, and so it was really kind of special for me as well to really focus our efforts in that area.
So Charlene, it's not meant as a dating app.
No, pardon me. No, and I appreciate you really saying that. It is not for dating. If you want to date, I'm more than happy to redirect you to anything else. There's plenty of services out there online and matchmakers in person. No, this is completely platonic. It is for adults 50 plus that are interested in increasing their groups of friends and want to get out of the house and do stuff, or take advantage of just opportunities and have people to hang out with and socialize with. So it can be any civil status, quite frankly, married individuals, partners, widows, widowers, divorcees, like the full gamut, because it's based on friendship, and that's it. It's I don't think there's anything more pure than friendship. I mean, it's one of the first things we achieve as human beings. We're born and we form bonds with our family, and then what comes after family? It's friends. And it's sort of it's part of our journey in life, is meeting new people, whether it's in school or when we start our work and our careers and maybe extracurricular activities and hobbies, and you join a sports league or a bowling or whatever the case may be. But what ends up happening when we get older, and particularly in the retirement years, is there are life changes. And those avenues that brought you together with people, maybe sporting events or the career, when they're removed, so let's say you're no longer a hockey mom and dad because your kids are now in their 30s, the sort of glue that brought you together with your friends kind of disappears a little bit, or it weakens, or there's just not as many opportunities to that bring everyone together. And so the idea with Amintro was, so what? This is the next part of life. Here's the vehicle. Here's the way to achieve it. Here's the way to meet new people that want to meet new people. And so, yeah, very much, I can't reiterate enough. It has nothing to do with dating, although there is a matching component, right? I always think of Amintro as a really incredibly large house party, and Amintro's the host.
Yeah.
And Amintro knows a little bit about every one of the guests because they're all friends of the host.
Right.
And so, as any good host would do, we introduce our guests to one another and say, hey, Mary, you happen to live in Azilda, for example, and you are originally from Portugal. Well, you need to meet Isabella over here because she's from the Azores and she also lives in Azilda, or maybe she's in Greater Sudbury, or whatever the case may be. You have a bit in common. You two should really connect. And so Amintro is just a really good host.
That brings up a question, because I kind of think of something as you're talking. So what if I'm going to think of Lisette here, and you're a snowbird and you travel and you go different parts of the country, but you live here in Northern Ontario? Would you be able to connect with somebody, let's say Texas or New Zealand, if that's kind of where you spend 6 months out of your year, maybe?
Right. I love that question. And the answer is that in the initial iteration of our platform as it stands right now, it's based on one location.
Okay.
However, we're very much aware of, you know, not just snowbirds, but people that go to the cottage or the camp for a certain part of the year. Let's say they spend 3 months at the camp in the summertime, and that camp is in a different location. We are working towards our members being able to change their location, so that regardless of where they are, again, within a certain radius that they choose, they will get introduced to other members of Amintro that are within reach, if you will. So that is something we've been working for the past, the entire year on further development of the platform, sort of a phase 2 and Amintro 2.0, if you will, and have implemented a lot of capabilities and functionalities from the text-based functionalities. So basically a lot more for our members to be able to do and enjoy as a member of Amintro. So that is coming.
Yeah, it would probably be wonderful to have the ability to have multiple addresses, right? Because, you know what I mean? I live in Sudbury, but then I also have a cottage out in Spanish, and then we're going, you know what I mean, to Myrtle Beach for a few months. So
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. So no matter where you are, and the objective has always been, no matter where someone is, there's always wonderful people around them. So how do we connect them and make that happen?
Well, I really love this idea. I know myself, and I know I bring up my mom quite a bit, and probably because she worries me so much. and I know through the years, one of the things that she's missed the most after becoming a widow was she absolutely loved to go dancing, but she never went. Because, you know, I'd say go dancing, and she's like, I don't want a relationship. I want to go dancing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
And she's always felt that she's had to give up the dancing. Right. But
yeah.
I say to her, just find some girlfriends and go somewhere and just dance. Right. But maybe this would help in finding the friends that have dancing in common. Right.
Well, that's exactly it. You know, part of the matching process, is based on our members' past, present, and future. And when they create a profile, we ask about a dozen or so questions. They're not overly personal or profound, but they paint a picture of who this person is, where they came from, where they are, and where they're headed. And what I mean by that is all those pieces are a part, they make us who we are, where we come from, our past, our cultural, our language, indicates a lot about an individual. And the present is where they are currently and what they enjoy, their hobbies, and so forth. And the future is their goals and objectives. What's on the bucket list? What do you want to do? Where would you love to go? And so those are some of the questions that we actually ask our members in completing the profile, because then we are able to make introductions. So if, for example, your mom loves dancing and there's several other members of Amintro within the radius that your mom picked for herself that also love dancing, well, they're likely going to be matched. And it's not just a hobby. There's got to be more to it. We're big believers. I'm a big advocate and believer in quality versus quantity. We all get inundated with unsolicited emails on a daily basis that are of no value to us. And I feel very strongly that it needs to be a solid quality introduction. Like, I won't introduce my mom to just anybody, right? Or anyone else's mom and dad, right? Because there's nothing, you just upset people. And you're wasting people's time, and everyone's time is precious. And I take great pride in what we do. And I love introducing great people to great people. And so the idea would be, yeah, you know, your mom joins Amintro and she will more than likely be connected with other individuals in the area that also indicated they love dancing. You know, it's really interesting because when in my early days of research, I conducted some focus groups, which the initial one was really a group of ladies that my mom knew, and invited them over for cocktails, so that I could sit and ask them questions. And these women were just outstanding, like so impressive. They're all who I want to be when I grow up. And it ran the ages of like mid 60s, and the eldest at the time was 92, and a pool shark that competes in Vegas, like just amazing. And one of the questions I asked, because I was trying to ascertain, well, what should the solution be? Because I knew I wanted to focus on social. And so I asked about their views on, you know, marriage, remarriage, or marriage and dating. No, not one of them was interested. And a lot of the feedback was I hate to say it, but you know, they were finished picking up socks off the floor, or, you know, that's not what they were looking for. They wanted companionship. They wanted to have someone to accompany them for dinner or go out and enjoy, whether it's of the same, you know, gender or opposite gender. They wanted to be comfortable in that what they were doing and enjoying had no strings attached, because they weren't interested. And that was a big, I guess, aha moment, as Oprah would say, for me, because I realized, you know, why there is such a huge pandemic of social isolation and loneliness, really globally, and particularly with older adults and our seniors. And it's because there is what the women want, quite frankly, the vast majority, is very different from what men want. And so dating's not the solution to social, it's not a solution to social isolation, in my opinion, and from what I've heard, nor is it inclusive, because generally couples shouldn't be on dating sites, right? They wouldn't be. So it limits the reach and the opportunity to help people.
Yeah.
Charlene, if I'm
Sorry.
understanding correctly, sorry, Gwen, I just want to ask, this is a free service also, right, for users?
It is. Membership is free. Yes.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, when, you know, when there's a couple and one of them passes away or you divorce, you feel like you lose all of those friendships you had as a couple, right? And sometimes it was, you know, maybe it was the husband's friends that you became friends with, but all of a sudden you're divorced from them and you're divorced from his family too at the same time. And that's very nice. You feel like you're kind of starting over again. So I think that happens to a lot of people.
There are so many things that occur in life that will happen to me as well, because it's just a part that contribute to why this is occurring. And, you know, you make a really good point. Divorce. I mean, there's a huge rate of divorce amongst seniors these days. And you do end up losing that circle that you were accustomed to socializing with. You know, like I said earlier, people pass. The older we get, that happens. That's a reality. There's just a lot of people downsize and they relocate, and now they're in a different town or a different community or a different province. You know, some people will move closer to an adult child. That I see that quite a bit as well. And now what happens is, while they are closer to their child or children, which is wonderful, they're kind of displaced because they're no longer in the community that was their home, that they knew inside out. Now they're somewhere else. And how do you now create a new social circle? Because you know, I don't want to be my mom's best friend. I want to be my mom's daughter, right? That's it. I don't want to be anything else but her daughter. And I want her to still reprimand me and give me advice and put me in my place and do all the things that moms do with the daughters, right? And so the idea is, you know, whether someone is moving to a new community, or they're a new apartment or home, or they live in retirement residences and, you know, senior living and active, you know, adult lifestyle communities, it's also becoming a member of Amintro will also help you connect with people in your community. in your residence. You know, so for individuals that are living, for example, in a retirement home that's maybe 3-4 floors tall, and you know, you've got 300 neighbors. Amintro is able to facilitate getting to know your neighbors that you might not have realized. You know, you pass them every day in the restaurant, or you know, in the hair salon, or whatever the case may be. So the idea is really just to make the world a much, much, much smaller place through new friendships and connections.
I think also, Charlene, right now, you know, it's still a learning curve, right? It's a new product, service. Organically, you're seeing what works and what doesn't. Are you noticing your user base definitely increasing as there's been so many changes over the last couple of years with individuals being at home? Are you noticing a large intake? And I'm hoping after this episode, there's another increase. Are you seeing that happening in the North?
I am, actually, yes. You know, the more that there are opportunities to share our story and the work that we're doing in communities, you know, many thanks and much gratitude to you. We see membership, we see people, we see new profiles, you know, people joining and so forth. And we realize it's very much an awareness thing. You know, if I speak someplace, it never fails, within days we have members from that region, that community. And so, yeah, I mean, COVID was a big one too, because it drove people to seek ways of staying connected. And particularly when, you know, older adults were separated from their children and their grandchildren, and we were, you know, bubbling, or then we couldn't even. Like, it was a terrible situation. I mean, everybody felt it. Everybody felt it. It was horrible. And so, yeah, we've seen, you know, obviously that played a factor. We also have a public website it's not member based, right? It's amintro.com, and it's separate from our membership based platform and community. And we started publishing a lot of our content, our information, because we produce a lot of content, articles, video, and so forth, for our members that are designed to inspire and motivate, you know, alternative thinking or ideas or considerations type thing. And really just to empower people to live to their fullest through the knowledge and access to knowledge. And what we discovered during pandemic was we were getting people under 50 flocking to our website, and realized it was the adult children or the families of, you know, the older adult, the senior in their lives, that were looking for resources, that were looking for information, ways to support their loved one, you know, ways for them to stay connected, that sort of thing. And so, you know, that's something that we've taken into consideration here at Amintro. Awesome. Is, you know, part of the solution has to involve the families.
Thanks,
it has
Charlene.
to involve the adult children.
As we're coming to a close again, time goes so fast in Aging in Action. With every episode we seem to do lately, we wish we could have more words. We're down to the last few minutes, or last few seconds actually, of today's episode. Is there anything you'd like to share? I know we'll share all the information ourselves, but any last words?
I mean, we invite anyone and everyone to check us out at amintro.com, and you can register, create an account. It's free, and enjoy our community and what we've got coming down the pipeline.
Well, thank you so much today for joining us on Aging in Action. Thank you everyone for watching and listening. We look forward to next week's episode of Aging in Action. We thank Charlene for joining us today and sharing her wisdom. We will share all information possible on our websites, social platforms, and have a great day, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.